There's nothing quite like impacting somebody else's life with the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah. What's your perspective on living grief?
People in general struggle with that kind of duality, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You can have one part of you that feels amazing and the other
Yeah.
part that feels the complete opposite to amazing, like horrific, you know?
Yeah.
And actually, they both sometimes can coexist.
As someone who's been thinking, like, I am the problem, what does that phrase really mean to them, would you say?
There's no destination, you know?
Yeah.
Like we say healing, because I don't think you're ever healed. I don't even know what that would mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a journey. And
Welcome back to Too Young To Grieve. And today I'm joined by Josh Connolly. Josh has a lot of talents, but he's a breathwork facilitator. He's the author of It's Them, Not You, and someone who has helped thousands of people understand the impact of difficulty, family dynamics, emotional neglect, and childhood trauma. And today is a slightly different version of Too Young To Grieve. A lot of what we covered recently has been related to loss, but grief, there's so many facets to it. And today we're going to dive into something that Josh really is passionate about and has a lot of perspective on. So thank you so much for joining me today, Josh.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
to be here. Yeah.
I always find it, I said it yesterday, like it's funny saying like excited about these things and talking about it, but it's our passion.
Yeah,
you know?
Man. Yeah. I am proper passionate about talking about it, you know, which, I don't know, I think I've been doing it for so long now, I sort of forget that it's new to talking this way to so many people, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I almost forget, because I love it, man. It's like, I guess it's a bit weird, isn't it?
I think you can say that. I think it is a bit weird. Like when people say you're talking about grief, you're talking about family dysfunction. That's a bit, but it's like the impact that it has on people. I'm like, yeah, I'm passionate about that.
Yeah.
I want people to understand you can talk about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like in regards to, before we dive into things, the breath work. If someone was to turn up to one of your workshops or in your community, what would they be surprised with most about it all?
Mate, everything. Like, so describing the breath work that I deliver, I think is so hard to even describe. Have you ever done it, by the way?
I've done a 1 hour session, which was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So I always say, like, the breath work that I do is like the HIIT training of breath work. So you lay down, you do a certain pattern. It's not long. It's like 26 minutes, yeah. And then I get everybody to scream at the end. So you have this big scream. There's like a big release. Your body's shaking everywhere. It really drops you down into your body in like a way most people haven't experienced before. And people won't believe it until they do it.
Yeah.
And then when they do it, people are like, I cannot believe that this exists and it's that simple to access.
Yeah.
And it can be like, it can have such one session. It's not going to like, I don't believe there's a magic bullet, right? I don't believe there's anything that is going to fix you as such.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have such a big experience in one session, mate. Like, people cry for the first time in years, you know? And most people, when they do it, cry. And I think, like, that's probably one of the best things about it.
Yeah.
Is to, like, be able to access that emotion and get rid of it, you know?
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, breath work is not just breath work, but other things, even like therapy, you know, things that allow your emotions to come out.
Yeah.
People are kind of afraid of them, but also like it's something completely new. And when I first did it, I'm very open to these things, but when I first did it, I did not expect the impact that it would have. Just to be able to control your nervous system like that and allow those emotions to be out. I can imagine the scream at the end is like something so brilliant to see.
Mad, mate. The biggest one I did was in a cathedral in London, near Hyde Park, I think it was, and we had like over 100 people there. So 100 people just screaming. It goes on like, and they are screaming, mate, from like the pit of their tummy, and it goes on for like 3 or 4 minutes, which is a long time.
That is a long time.
And then there's a lot of crying and stuff. And listen, I was scared of emotions for so long because I had so many buried inside of me. And I think the biggest fear is that you think that, I don't know if you think this rationally, but there's like a sense that if I start crying, I'll never stop. Do you know what I mean? And it's not true, man. Like, you do stop. And actually you feel so much better when you get it out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the key thing to touch upon. I think with a lot of these things is that you don't realise that when you come out of them, you don't necessarily feel heavy. I feel a lot lighter
Yeah.
because I feel like everything sort of that has been in there has sort of come out. I think it's brilliant, and yeah, I think breathwork's definitely something to look into a bit more if you haven't tried it
Yeah,
before.
man. And I'm gonna force you to come to our men's event to do it, man. I
I'm
want you to
definitely
try
there.
it. Yeah,
I need a big scream. I'm definitely
yeah.
gonna I'm definitely gonna be there. Perfect. No, I think it's a great thing. I
Yeah,
love it,
man.
and I'm glad to definitely try it out in the
Yeah,
future
yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So just for people just that don't really know your story or what you sort of do, would you be able to just give a bit of background about everything and where it all began?
Yeah, look, I left my job in 2018 to start doing what I do now, and like that at the beginning, that was like supporting charities and a lot of corporate companies um, in like resilience training, and that all come from like my own personal experience. So I got sober when I was 24, so in 2012, nearly 14 years ago. Um, and I had a drink and drug problem
Hmm.
basically. When I say a drink and drug problem, like it's important for me to stress that what I mean by that is like I think people have an idea of what that means. They think it means I was on like a park bench, like
Yeah.
drinking every day or whatever. I was able to like blend in. I just looked like a lad who loved the sesh, you know.
Hmm.
But the sesh became like Thursday to Wednesday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had like my first daughter was born when I was 18. I was so reckless. I was like involved in sort of gangs and stuff in my teenage years, and like I was involved in some really bad stuff. And then I got sober when I was 24, and then very quickly everything that I'd been running away from using alcohol and drugs started coming out of me. I lost
Hmm.
my dad was an alcoholic. He died when I was 8 years old, and I found myself grieving that at
Yeah.
25 years old. Like
Hmm.
it was all coming out, and I'd always been like a I don't know, stereotypical macho tough guy. I had a skinhead, was involved in football violence, right? And so like the fact that I was crying all the time now when I was sober was weird, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't
Hmm.
know who to speak to about it. And actually, like what happened for me is I found a group of people through like recovery spaces back then. I met a group of people in Oxford actually, and then I made some friends in London who were all young and trying to live a sober life, which was very different back then. We weren't a lot of
Yeah.
people doing it. And then and that's how I went on my journey really. And I supported a charity, still do, called NACOA, which is for children of alcoholics. And through that, I started doing I was like doing a lot of public speaking for them, and then I was on TV quite a lot. There used to be a show on BBC called Victoria Derbyshire Show, like a daytime show, and I used to go on there a lot talking about addiction. And
Hmm.
then it just grew from there really. I didn't have social media. Didn't have social media then. And then I originally started a blog that sort of blew up a little bit, and blogs were quite big back then. Um, and then I think I started a Twitter account, and then Facebook and Instagram followed, and then grew a big following, and realized that probably a bit like yourself, really, that there weren't many people talking about this stuff,
Hmm.
particularly men,
Yeah.
right? And particularly like young men. When I was like 25, 26, there was nobody online. Everybody was still talking about hustle culture, really.
Yeah.
There was nobody talking about like loss and grief and emotions and all that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I like kind of I relate to a lot of the work that you're doing, because it feels like we've trod and are treading like a very similar path, really, in that sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much for sharing that. I think a lot of people take a lot from that and a lot from your work, but I think it's definitely a big thing for men in particular. They're talking about it, the emotional side of things.
Mm,
I think we do struggle to deal with our past traumas,
mm.
and when we do, we feel a lot lighter for it. But I think being able to share about it, is that something that was difficult at the start in terms of social media or in terms of anything that you started doing? Was it difficult to share your story?
It was like I just got to the point where I was so ready. Like I hit such a like difficult place. So when I was 24 and I stopped drinking, I was 9.5 stone, right? I was £17,000 in debt, and I was living on a fold-out bed at my mum's house. So like there was I had 4 kids as well by then, with my now ex-wife.
Mm.
So like I had this broken down family. I was seeing my kids on the weekend. I had no money. I'd managed to hold down a job working in a factory. And I just realized, once I started talking about it, it just started flooding out of me. And I was like talking about my struggles to anybody that would listen. And actually, what I found is that I feared talking about it more than actually doing it. Once I did it, I found, man, in most cases, I've been so surprised by even some of the lads that were like, you know what, me too, or mate, I'm so like, thank you for talking like you do. So I almost got a little bit obsessed about it at the beginning, and I was like sharing my story on all these different places, and I sort of, everything I did was like sharing my story. So I kind of share my story a little bit less now, but at the time it was like, I was like coming out to the world that I'm not this tough guy who doesn't get affected by anything. I'm the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Like I'm a very sensitive, soft guy, very proudly so now, that gets emotional a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And once I accepted that, my life changed for the better, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think when you do accept that it is okay to do that, everything does get easier.
Yeah.
It gets a lot lighter, you feel like you can just talk about things with anyone.
Yeah.
And one of the best things that you can do when you're ready is to talk to people.
Yeah.
And do you feel like when you get like the messages, for example, from someone who's like, yeah, I've been through that too, is that like the best feeling to feel that, like, you know, like,
yeah, there's nothing quite like impacting somebody else's life with the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
If it's probably like, you know, the one thing in my life that no matter where I am, because I still struggle, you know, no matter where I am and no matter what I'm struggling with in my life, doing stuff and working with other people and supporting other people works like nothing else for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's about the impact that you have on the world, isn't it? That's a big thing. Have you noticed that a lot more since the book? Like, has the book been again just more people being able to feel like they can share their story because they relate to yours?
Yeah, man. I mean, the book opened like because it's quite a difficult subject, right? So I get so much love from people, you know, for talking about it, because it's like it's rarely talked about, right? People don't talk about what it's like to grow up with difficult parents or even abusive parents, right? People want to sweep it under the carpet and not talk about it. And there's like a living grief that goes on with that, right? There's like, you know, you have to grieve somebody that's still alive and all of that stuff. But there was a flip side of it as well, which was like, because it's blown up in the way that it did, and the book was kind of in the middle of everything blowing up, really. It just took it to another level.
Yeah.
Comes with a lot of flack as well. I mean, I don't know if you get much stick online, but like I get a lot of stick as well, you know. And some days it's not good, man. You can like, you'll get like 100 people tell you how amazing what you're doing is, and then the 101 person says you're a dick and you're horrible, and that's all you can focus on.
Yeah.
And I know people just say ignore it and stuff, but it's easy. It's like saying like, oh, I'm being bullied at school, I'll just ignore them, right? It's hard, man. Sometimes it's hard. So yeah, it's been a mix, and I, you know, as much as I can, I read as much of the support that I get as I can, because it's like just so important. Yeah,
100%. I think it's just human nature, isn't it? When you do see that, you're like, I'll ignore it, but it does little by little just eat at you. Like, how could you say that to someone you don't even know, type of thing? But yeah, I think that's just a part of creation and being out there and putting your story out there. The amount of people that you impact way outweighs the people that do have a negative comment here and there, but it does still have its little bit of impact.
It's just on a bad day, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most days you read it and it's like, oh, it's almost like laughable, you know? You can read them and it's like, I'll have a joke about it and like have a laugh with them, but it's just every now and then catching up. Everybody has a bad day, innit?
Yeah.
Everyone has a bad day, so yeah.
100%. With the well, you touched upon that. I think it's really good for us to touch upon that. Obviously, this podcast is about grief, and in particular for young individuals. What is, would you say, like, how would you define, maybe not define, but what's your perspective on living grief? Like, because I always think that people associate grief with just loss of a loved one or close personal, but there is living grief.
Yeah.
So how does that differ?
I think because we can experience loss even when somebody's still alive, right?
Yeah.
And I think most people think that grief is just to do with death.
Yeah.
You know? And I think if you know, look, everybody wants to have amazing parents, right? Everybody wants to have parents that you feel like love and support you.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you have to grieve the loss of that belief, right?
Yeah.
As you get older, because no matter what your parents are like when you're a child, they're your everything, right? That's part of like how we're wired. But then I think as you get into your adulthood, if you start to realize, oh my God, like my parents not who I thought they were,
Yeah.
right? Then you have to grieve the loss of that. But it happens with the person still being there,
Yeah.
you know? And that's when it becomes really complicated, because I think when look, grief's always complicated, you know that yourself, but like when there's a death, like even with me, my dad died when I was like 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
There's a line in the sand. It's like a finite thing, you know? Like I can go, this is what happened. He's dead. He's gone. Nothing will ever change of that. And I can, whenever I feel ready and supported, I can start the grieving process, whatever that is and however that looks for you. But if it's grieving a relationship lost with a parent that's still out there, that somebody might tell you about, oh, I saw your mum yesterday, or I saw your dad yesterday, or did you see what your dad put on Facebook, or whatever it may be. And it complicates the grief even more. Because there's not a clear line. You know that they're still out there. There's always hope that they might change, or that the relationship might be able to be restored. And it's not always the case that it can be. So yeah, you have to grieve the loss of the relationship that you wanted but never got, and then you still have to grieve the loss of the relationship that you had as well. So there's a lot going on, you know. And look, I'd never like to compare, you know, one grief or loss to another. But when it is a living grief, there's like more layers of complexity to it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think there's, like you say, there's no one grief is no worse than another grief, but there's different layers to it, because it's kind of like in a relationship, for example, or a marriage, you know, there's a grief that comes with a divorce or a breakup. And because the person is still there and you still see them doing their thing or whatever they're doing, like you say, you might see something on Facebook, someone says, oh, so-and-so did this. And you're like, it's not like you can just move forward with it because it's still going on. Whereas with a loss of someone, it's done. So there's nothing you can do. So you just have to learn to live with the grief.
Yeah.
But living grief is a completely different, complex thing.
Yeah.
How have you found navigating that throughout your life, would you say?
Yeah, like it's you know, I've had a lot of loss and grief in my life. I lost my dad, and then I've had, you know, I've been married in my adulthood, and that's failed as well. So you have the loss of that. And then even when I was younger, even at like 6 years old, so my dad was an alcoholic, right? So he moved out when we were like very young, when I was like 3, and then he spent like 3 years in prison. So there's another loss there, you know. You've got the loss of your dad's freedom, and so again, that's a type of living grief. And I think it just like stays with you forever in many ways. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, it becomes about how do I live this new life? You know what I mean? How do I live life in the new way that it's going to be? Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like I think that we think that to do grief or loss properly and well, you have to get back to where you were or even surpass it, right? But I think for me, it's been more about you can live a new life and it can be amazing.
Yes.
But you just have to accept that. Because I, you know, with a lot of the losses that I've been through, even when I look like, so the breakdown of my second marriage, so me and my wife separated early last year, and it was very amicable. So like we're really good friends now, right? We got 2 children together, and we're like we're good and we get on. But I felt a lot of guilt at the beginning, you know, like a lot of guilt when I felt good. you know, because I was grieving the loss of the family as the way that it was, and then I felt like I was betraying my kids if I had a good time when they weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like that's grief, man. It's
Yeah.
like that's loss, but it's a different type because they're there. My kids are still there,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and we still see each other every day. But there would be moments where, similar to when you lose somebody, similar to like now when something good happens in my career, I have a moment of like, I wish I could share this with a dad.
Yeah.
And I don't get to do that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And then so sometimes you think, well, I can't be too happy about this moment
Yeah.
because I can't do it with them.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to kind of like move through that and be like, no, I can have an amazing time in a new way. It will never be like it was before, but I can do it in a new way, and I can still lean into the joy and all of that, because that's probably been the hardest bit, I think, is to allow myself joy.
Yeah. I completely agree. Like you say, we're talking about different types of griefs, but so many similar patterns that come
Yeah.
from it. You know, like you said, even with a partner, the joy and the guilt that you feel from that is so similar to the loss of a loved one, in the sense that, you know, oh, I'm feeling all right today. I'm feeling a bit happy. Like, and then you think, oh, but they're not here. And it's like, it just shows that grief is, even in a living grief, it still brings those things
Yeah.
and those emotions that. But then you also touched upon how you can, you know, still enjoy that joy as well in certain moments, but you do still feel that little bit of guilt at the same time. And I think that's such an interesting thing, because there are two different types of grief, but the exact same type of emotions that come with that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that permission, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like giving yourself permission to know that you can have both.
Yeah.
You can experience joy at the same time as like guilt or sorrow or sadness or like mourning that it's a moment that they're not going to be there, and you can still lean into the joy.
Yeah.
Like, that's quite hard. I think people in general struggle with that kind of duality, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You can have one part of you that feels amazing and the other
Yeah.
part that feels the complete opposite to amazing, like horrific, you know.
Yeah.
And actually they both sometimes can coexist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing, that they can coexist. But it is, like you say, it's a big struggle to be able to balance those and have those same feelings at the same time, because they're two polar opposites, and you're like, I shouldn't be feeling this happy or this joy whilst also experiencing that sadness.
Yeah.
But it can happen. It just takes a bit of time and, you know, learning how to navigate your grief and those emotions that come with it.
Yeah.
When we talk about like emotional patterns, and a lot of things come from childhood and things like that, how do the emotional patterns from a young form of grief transfer later into adulthood, would you say?
I think when you're a child, like, you know, you're learning about the world, you know, and I think we forget that when you're a very young child, particularly, your world is shaped by the environment that you live in.
Yeah.
Like my dad was a big drinker, right? Obviously he was an alcoholic. So like when I was experiencing all of these things, like him being really drunk at home when I'm like 3, 4, 5 years old,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's domestic violence, he's smashing up the house and stuff. Like, you don't, as a kid, I'm not thinking, oh, I wish it weren't like this. I don't know that. I don't know that it can't be like that, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know that other families don't do that doesn't happen in other homes, you know? I always say it's like if you ask a fish what it thinks about all the water, the fish will be like, what? What's water?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just that that's its natural thing for it, you know? So I think when you're a kid, like it's normal for you, and so you grow and you adapt to that environment.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like, I grew up as an adult who struggled to trust men, right? Like, my core belief was that men are scary and men will hurt you and men are dangerous and, like, you know, men shouldn't be trusted. And I didn't know that they were my core beliefs, but they were. I became very defensive. I wanted to keep people at arm's length. I saw my mum's pain and struggle and the way that my mum struggled emotionally. So, you know, I desperately wanted to show her that I was all right all of the time. Yeah. So I became somebody who was very good at pretending I was okay all of the time, you know, and that meant pushing down all of these big emotions. And for me, what happened is, like, into my teens and early adulthood, I had a lot of anger.
Yeah.
Because it was like suppressed emotion and it came out of me as anger. You know, I've always played football and gone to watch football. And that kind of became the place where a lot of my anger, I'd get my anger out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that like controlling my emotions at football when I'm playing. I don't think that's something I ever got over. I mean, I've only just stopped playing. I play veterans football now. It's basically like old man's football, over 35s football for over 35. And I still struggle. Still have these like angry outbursts when I'm playing football. Because there's a lot in there. I'm a very sensitive and very emotional person. And if if I don't have regular space to get rid of that emotion, it will come out of me sideways, you know?
Yeah.
And that was my experience as a child, and it's still my experience as an adult,
Yeah. A lot of the emotional patterns that you've sort of learned through your childhood have basically throughout life, they come out in different ways. Like I said, in football, it's funny, like so I play football as well, and it's like you see the people that, you know, they're like a little fight here and there, or there's a little scrap going on, and it's like you don't really think about the emotions behind that. It's not just, you know, the football, it could be from stuff outside of football.
Yeah.
And would you say that through like things like the breath work and things, that's how it's kind of, you know, you're challenging it in different ways, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And it's calmed me down a bit. I mean, I manage now. So I manage a team, and like, I'm careful of what I'm saying, because any of the teams that I play against, if they watch this and listen to this, they'll tell you that I'm full of shit if I tell them to calm down. So like, look, listen, you play football, so I was never that good at football, right? But I learned at a young age. I loved to tackle, loved to header the ball, and so I played in the Wilts Prem, which is like the league below semi-professional. Yeah, so the top half of the Wilts Prem was a good standard, because it was lads that should be playing semi-pro, but don't want to travel.
Yeah,
and so you just drop down because it ain't worth the 50 or the 100 quid or whatever. Yeah, so it's a good standard, and I played at that standard throughout my playing career because I bought everything else. You know, win a tackle, play a 5-yard pass. That's about all I had. So I'm the old school centre half. A lot of shouting, a lot of anger, lot of anger, a nightmare to play against. And football was my release, man. You know, and like a lot of people that know me through football will say the same thing, which is like, I'm horrible on the football pitch, but like nice when I'm off it. You know, and I always like. So I've got adult kids now, and sometimes they go to me, they say, "Oh, my mate knows you. He's played football against you." I'm like, "Oh, no," you know what I mean?
So you're like, I don't want to know what he said about me as a player.
So yeah, man, like football was a release, and a healthy release, you know, in many ways. Sometimes / often I would boil over, and I'd be out of order, and it would get too much. But it was ultimately like a healthy way of getting rid of it. Like all exercise has been. Breath work become another release, running, anything that like drops you out of your head and into your body. You know, when I played football, when things were really bad, football kept me alive, really, because when I really vividly remember, I used to play Saturdays and Sundays when I was younger, and I really remember playing football, and I can remember the full-time whistle would go, and then I would like realise I've got to go back to my life now. Yeah. But in that 90 minutes, I didn't think about anything else other than like winning and what I was gonna do in the game, and I forgot about everything. Yeah. And I really vividly remember that the full-time whistle would go, and I'd just think, I've got to go back to my life now. Do you know what I mean? So it's football and sport, but particularly football has been so huge for me. Yeah,
it's the same with me. Like you say, like you're kind of like a white line player. You know, cross that white line, and it's like my head's just in this now. Yeah. And it's that 90 minutes of peace. You know, you don't think about anything else, and then the game finishes, and you got to go back to normality. And it's like, it kind of relates to that thing as men. We don't really want to go back to that normality and have to deal with the emotions and the things that are going on in our life and that side of things. So when you talk about that, does that kind of relate to, I think you talk about a lot, the inner child. Would you say that kind of relates slightly?
Yeah, man. I think that like most men that I work with, or support, if you trace back what they're feeling, there's a like scared little boy in there. There's a scared little boy who don't know what to do with all of his emotions. Yeah. And like you said, man, what the people see when I'm playing football, when I do lose it, and I do, they're seeing that scared little boy can't control his emotions, flipping out and losing it. And that's what happens in football, And I see it all the time with a lot of men. I see it so clearly when they're lost in their anger. It's a scared little boy in there, scared, upset little boy. And that's what the inner child work is, really. It's like, how do you go and meet that little boy? How do you go and meet that version of yourself? And how do you reparent them? How do you let them know that it's okay? Like, what does that look like? That looks like when in football, when I have lost it, or in a relationship when I feel like I've done something I'm not proud of, or in a friendship, or in my working life. Like when I've had that moment where I feel like I've not lost control. I don't lose control in a terrible way anymore, but like when I'm not proud of what I did, can I support that younger version of myself? Because that's what I've become, Relationships are a prime example. If I'm with my partner and I start getting scared or I start acting silly and I don't act myself, I've become a young version of myself. That's scared that you're going to leave, or scared that you're going to hurt me, or the old patterns that used to happen when I was a child. What I was taught, I was taught that good people do bad stuff, or, if everything's just like it's supposed to be, then something's going to happen in a minute. It's all going to kick off. And that's what my childhood taught me. So I still fear those patterns subconsciously as an adult. And the inner child work is like, how do I find ways to make that part of me feel safe,
Yeah, 100%. I think when you go through something traumatic in your childhood, a lot of the time the emotions that we do feel in adulthood do tend to come, like you touched upon it, if something happens and is this going to happen again? Does this mean that this experience that I've had as a child is going to happen because it's now I'm seeing similar patterns in my relationship or in my career, and it's the psychology, isn't it? It's the mind, and like you said, the inner child is, just telling you, oh, be careful, like, this might happen again.
Yeah.
So like, if someone does grow up in dysfunction, how does that kind of impact them in that side of things, and seeing the world and themselves? Because you sort of touched on how you can be angry at things and take it out on other things in football, for example. So how does that change how you view the world?
It's like, I think one of the main things that happens when you grow up in dysfunction, right? You're trying to, as a kid, you're trying to make yourself lovable. You're trying to get, if you've got a parent that's trapped in, say, addiction or dysfunction of any kind, they've got their own stuff going on. When you're a child, you don't have the nous to be like, oh, my mum's really going through some emotional stuff at the moment, or my dad's really struggling with this thing, yeah? You don't think that. You just think, I need to change myself so that they can love me, right? There must be something wrong with me. And so, like, I became like a chronic sort of people pleaser, really. So in my relationships, even my romantic relationships, like, I just work out who the people want me to be and then just become that. I don't know how to be myself. I just want you to love me. I want you to like me. I want you to accept me. Because that's what my wound is, right? My wound is that if I be myself, you won't love me. You won't accept me. I'm too much. I'm too loud. I'm too silly. Like, like all of them kind of things. And so instead of letting myself be myself and then seeing if you like me, I be whoever you want me to be and try to get you to like me. But then that leaves you feeling lonely all the time, yeah?
Yeah.
Because you're not being yourself. And so you build these relationships where, this is what I did. I became very likable. Everybody liked me. I was very social. But none of it was who I truly am. I was hiding everything about who I am. So I felt so lonely. Like, as a young man, I felt really lonely and I had loads of people around me. And I think, like, if I'm not careful still today, I can, make myself feel lonely if I'm not. I have to build community and I have to be like, look, remember, not everybody's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
There are good people out there and you can build relationships. So it's like you're constantly working on these things,
Yeah, 100%. I think like everyone is doing life for the first time, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to navigate, like things happen and things in childhood, things in adulthood, and you're like, this is the first time I'm experiencing this and I don't really know what to do. And it's like, I'm only here for the first time. I'm just figuring this out myself.
Yeah. When you're a kid, yeah, you just think that when I get to an adult that I'll obviously figure it all out. And then like, I think in my like late teens and then into my early 20s, I was thinking, oh, I'm like, obviously I'll start figuring it out soon. And then just as you get older, you just realise everybody is winging it their whole life, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're all
100%.
just, yeah, like you say,
100%.
I've never been the age that I am now. I've never been the age that I am next year, and life changes, and we're all
Yeah.
doing it for the first time, man. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the big thing for people to take. You know, like the people that you see that are smashing it, maybe, is like they're still winging it. They don't have a
Yeah.
clue what's coming next. So it's
100%,
like you've just got to take it one day at a time with that side of things. Just going back to what you said about, you know, sometimes you do, you know, even if you're not careful, you might go back to that feeling of loneliness. How, like, what signs that someone is still carrying those wounds from childhood into adulthood, then, would you say?
Do you know one of the experiences that I felt a lot throughout my life was I had this like feeling that I wanted to go home, but I fucking didn't know what that meant because I'd be at home and I feel like I want to go home, and it's because I never knew how to be myself. You know, I used to like as a young like as I just got into my adulthood, I remember I used to like if I got time in bed on my own, I'd put like sad music on and just fucking like cry myself to sleep. And I had no idea why. I had no idea what it meant. And so I had all these like difficulties in my relationships. But everybody, when I was like 19, 20, and I was drinking a lot, but everyone just thought I was happy-go-lucky. You know, like I was people thought I was a good crack to be around, like a little bit too much and over the top when I drank too much. But everybody thought I was all right. But I knew deep down that I wasn't sharing. Something was missing, you know. Something was missing. I felt like nobody knew me. I felt like I didn't know myself, and I didn't know how to like even start to articulate that to somebody. I didn't know how to say to people like, because I was having panic attacks and that, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know it was panic attacks. Didn't even know that I was like anxious a lot. Didn't even know that. I just thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was different. If you feel different, to come to a question of like what could make you realize that you're struggling with that. It's like if you feel different a lot, and if you feel like you don't really know how to explain yourself to people, I think that's how I felt a lot when I was younger. And it, for me, what really started to save me was like community spaces.
Yeah.
Being amongst other people. I learned most about myself through listening to other people. Because some of the biggest breakthroughs I had is I'd be in a group session. So I went to recovery meetings for drinking at first, and like I go to a men's group that I founded with a couple of my mates. And the biggest moments is when I'm stood in a group and somebody's like, I feel like this, and when I do, I keep doing this. And I was like, and you're like, fuck, man, I do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been doing that all my life, and I haven't been able to find the words for it. And if I did, I don't think I'd have had the guts to share it in a group, and you've just shared it like it's nothing. And everyone in here is nodding because they all do the same thing. And then you're like, it goes back to that winging it thing. Because you just go, I'm normal.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy, man. I'm not the only one. I'm just like everyone else in here. But in your head and in my head, I always feel like I'm the only one.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that feels like this or does this, you know?
Yeah, that's powerful. I think I did the exact same thing last night with the first Too Young To Grieve in-person event. And when you're surrounded by people who've been through a similar thing to yourself, and everyone's talking about it, you're like, wow, yeah, I'm not weird.
Yeah.
I am actually normal. I've just been through something that is, you know, traumatic. And I'm like, yeah, I am actually normal. But that community, that connection to people who've been through a similar thing makes you understand that.
Yeah.
And it's like, until you get that community and that connection, you're, like you said, in your own head a lot of the time thinking, this isn't normal. Like what I'm feeling here isn't normal.
Yeah.
But in reality, it is. It's
Yeah.
just like what you've experienced has impacted your life a lot.
Yeah. And you feel like you're never going to get out of it, don't you? Like when I'm feeling, like when I have a down day or whatever, or a day where I don't feel great, and I have them too regularly, if I'm honest with you. But like when I have them, I'm like, this is the one. I'm never getting out of this one. I'm stuck here now. I'm miserable. I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life. Don't matter that I felt great the day before,
Yeah.
and that every time I normally feel like this, I get out of it. I'm like, this is the one. And then again, if I'm in a group of people And somebody might be like, you know what, yesterday I felt so down. Like I just felt like I couldn't keep going like this. But today I feel brilliant.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah. It always, like, the good days do come again, you know? Like they always do come again.
Yeah.
But when you're in it, you can only, you know, they don't last any longer than a day when I'm in them nowadays, really.
Yeah.
But they still feel like you're never going to get out of them.
Yeah. 100%. I think, we all have our good and our bad days, but when we do have the bad ones, like you say, and someone chucks a negative comment at you, you know, you get a little, and you're like, well, this is not going to change, is it? Like, I'm not going to get out of it. But then hearing someone else say, oh yeah, I felt that yesterday too, you're like, okay, maybe I am. I've just got to take it one hour, one day at a time, and then I will get out of it. What would you say, like, from your perspective? I know obviously a lot of the focus is on breath work, on other things as well, other tools. What would you say are some practical tools for someone who's trying to heal those traumas that they've experienced, but don't really know where to start?
Look, I think the biggest fundamental one is the one that we've just touched on, right? And I know it sounds simple, but I really think it is community. And like, it needs, I think you need to find your community.
Yeah.
I don't care what that is, yeah? Like, for a long time, the only community I had was football community. Kept me alive. Like, people have community at the gym, you know? You see, like, CrossFit's communities. You see, like, running communities, yoga communities. But it doesn't have to be fitness-led. Like, any type of community, like men's group, you have women's group, you have, like, LGBTQ plus groups. Like, whatever it is, but find community.
Yeah. Be
part of something that you can plug into, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific one for what you're going through, but that can be useful. But like, community for me is the single biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being plugged into people that get me, that know me, that understand me, that make me feel part of something. That I can be such a part of, that if I wasn't a part of, people would notice me missing. Like, that's like a big thing. The second component for me is what I would say, like, somatic practices. So soma is of the body, and again, this is why I think people get bang into the gym or running or football, is because all of those are somatic practices. Like, when you're running for a long time, you're in your body. Like, the gym is the same thing, but things like breath work, again, yoga's another one of them. Embodiment practices, all of these kind of things that bring you into your body, get you out of your head and bring you into your body. I would say they're the biggest things as well. So community, like somatic practices, and then I really believe in, I call them like rituals. I believe in like anchor points each day. Have a moment each day. Now that could be like journaling in the morning. Could be walking the dog when you finish work. Could be turning your device off and making yourself a cup of tea. You know, like, I drink cacao. You know cacao?
Yeah.
So I make cacao, and I have it every evening. And when I make it, there's no phone, and I have to cook it, and you put a bit of spice and stuff in there, and then I sit and have this ceremonial grade cacao of an evening. That's like a ritual. It's like an anchor point for me. No matter what's going on, I know, let me have my cacao. Give myself a minute, and then, look, I do think that something in the morning can be really useful, like what you do with the first 30 minutes of your day. And I don't mean like hustle, like
ice bath,
get ahead of everyone else. I just mean, like, for me, if I wake up in bed and open Instagram straight away, I am like giving my nervous system to an algorithm. And it could set the whole tone of the day, man. I might watch 3 videos that just ruin my day. And I think that's so that's a big thing. So community, somatic work, and then rituals.
I think those are brilliant. I think all of those are things that we should definitely incorporate. And I think, even like you said with the cacao, like, that 5 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes in your day that you just give to yourself and allow yourself to just be present, is so important, especially in this day and age where, you're constantly scrolling, like you said, you're constantly trying to keep your mind active. If you just have that little ritual where you can take a step back, know that it's part of your day where it's just you and the cacao, and it's like, just relax.
Yeah.
Just have that time to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think people struggle with it. Like, they feel like they're too busy. They're too busy. But if you make that 5 minutes, that has such an impact on your day.
It can even be, because I see you take like supplements and stuff, don't you?
Just a few.
Yeah,
the basics.
But even like that, I take supplements every day, right? And people are like, "Oh, what supplements do you take?" And to be honest with you, that like I do my electrolytes and that because I do a lot of like running or whatever.
Yeah.
But some of the supplements I'm taking, I don't really know or care what they're doing. But there's a ritual in it. That every day I have that moment where I make my electrolytes drink, and I have a couple of different supplements, and it's a moment where I'm telling my mind and my body, I'm making an attempt here to look after you.
Yeah.
And I think even that, the like act of doing it, is sometimes bigger than what you're actually putting in your body.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, apart from the obvious ones, like, this is turned into a supplement talk, but apart from the obvious ones, like, a lot of them, I'm the same as you. I'm like, I don't know how much of an impact this is having. I eat well, but it is part of my routine. And it's having that routine and that ritual, like you say, that allows you to just have that time in the day. That is your time. It's doing something for yourself.
Yeah, loving yourself and looking after yourself and caring for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, these are all like big things that, you know, we all sort of struggle to do. And like, I think especially, it's probably true for everybody, but I think it's especially true for men again. It can all feel a little bit weird, like, oh, what, you're looking after yourself and all of that. So these ways of just creating these moments that don't feel too far-fetched, but you are like, I feel like there's something going, you're subconsciously caring for yourself.
Yeah. 100%, and it's the same with the community. Like, you're subconsciously going and putting yourself in a situation where you're surrounded with people who are, like you said, it doesn't have to be something that you love potentially, but just going to a place where there is other people. They might have been through something similar to yourself. You don't know. You could go to a yoga. Like you said, a lot of people that do fitness, do things like yoga, are there for a reason. They're there because they're trying to heal, or they're trying to work on their body, maybe because they're trying to heal. And then you get to know them, you get to talk, and you're like, oh, you've been through something similar. So that community aspect, as well as the rituals, as well as the somatic exercises, they're all ways that you are looking after yourself and looking after human needs, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And you're all human at the end of the day, innit?
Yeah.
And like, if you meet an adult and they tell you, I've lived a perfect life and never struggled with anything, your first thought is you're going to think, that's a lie.
Yeah.
You're either lying to me or you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
So everyone's human. Everyone's going through something.
Yeah.
And so being in community with people, you will realise you're not alone as long as you put yourself in that position, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Just touching on the part where you said about, which I think is brilliant, you know, we're all human. We are all human. So linking back to the book and the title of the book, It's Them, Not You. As someone who's been thinking, you know, like, I am the problem, what does that phrase really mean to them, would you say?
I think, like, if you know, when you look at the book, it's just helping people to understand that I think we always blame ourselves for everything, isn't it? Yeah. So I think that a lot of people, if you've grown up with somebody that's a bully, and that bully happens to be your parent, you've probably grown up with the belief that there's something wrong with you. Like, why can't they love me? What have I done? Why aren't I good enough? And sometimes it ain't about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
And I think that is important to understand, because sometimes we can like over spiritualize stuff when actually the truth is that some people aren't very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And if people aren't very nice to you, it's okay to feel let down or sad about that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like you said at the start, you know, we all want to have that family, that parent who is there for us, you know, loving. And then when you don't, it's kind of like, I don't really understand this. And I don't understand, like, for someone who is going through it, they might think you're like, well, that's my parent, of course they're right, you know, type of thing. And I can imagine that if you don't have that, you're like, until you do understand it. And I think that's why the book's so important, because it allows people to understand themselves better, which kind of again links back to the community. Even if it's not in person, there's a community aspect that, yeah, you're going through something, I've been through it too, it's not your fault, type of thing.
Yeah, totally. You need to find people that understand your experience, isn't it? That have been through it, that can go, yeah, me too. That's why, movements like that are so big, because there's so much power in genuinely being with somebody that says me too, and knowing that they actually really have experienced what you have and you're not alone.
Yeah.
It's so, like, sounds so simple, but it's so huge, and so many of us are lacking that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us do think that we are alone in it, and that we're the only person feeling that type of way, and we're weird, we're not normal. My family is like, I'm the odd one.
Yeah.
But when you do understand that, look, I've experienced this too. It's the same in the community I had last night. Yeah, you've experienced this too. I've experienced this. We are. There isn't anything necessarily wrong with us. It's just what we've been through. Just from your perspective, then, like, over time, what does healing actually look like for someone who's been through that grief?
It's hard, man, because, like, I would say to everybody that, like, there's no destination,
Yeah.
Like we say healing, because I don't think you're ever healed. I don't even know what that would mean. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a journey. And I think that in many ways, all we're talking about is just being a bit, or not a bit, but just being intentional.
Yeah.
I think when you're being intentional, when you're, like, really trying to work on yourself, you're trying to work things out. Like, why am I like this? Why did this happen? Or, like, how do I, who did I become in that moment? And what can I learn from that? And how do I try and evolve to be a better member of the communities that I exist in?
Yeah.
Like, just being intentional, and it's not about, like, fixing yourself, or, it's not about being broken. It's just about being more intentional, wanting to take accountability for your actions, and just wanting to be, like, a decent version of who you are.
Yeah. I love the part you said at the start, is healing, not healed.
Yeah.
Because I think that a lot of people think that you get to a point where it's all done. I've done my healing. I'm finished. I need to get to that point, and then that puts more pressure on them, because they're like, "Why am I still feeling this way years later?" But it is a healing process. It's never gonna be a point where you just complete it. Like, it's not a game for you to finish. It's just something, like you said, every day being intentional, doing something each day that can improve you. Whether that's getting a supplement stack, whether that's trying breath work, whether that's your career, whatever it is, that each day you're like, okay, I'm just going to focus on this, I'm going to keep going, and over time that compounds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the healing process.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And look, I've been there. You can get a little bit caught up in thinking the next thing will fix it. If I do that, I'll be healed,
Yeah.
And it never happens.
Yeah.
Life smacks you in the face too hard, too often,
Yeah, I agree completely. I think, like, we set ourselves these little targets and these things.
Yeah.
Like, when I get this partner, I'm going to be healed.
Yeah.
When I move to this country, I'm going to be healed. And it's like, it just doesn't work like that. And it's just, by setting those targets, it can make it harder. So if you just move forward each day intentionally, like you said, one day at a time, that is such a big realization in your healing journey, I think.
Yeah, totally.
So my last question to you, Josh, is, I always like to finish the episodes with, if someone is at the very start of their healing journey, like you touched upon, they might feel a bit angry, a bit confused, a bit like, I don't really know why I'm feeling this type of way. What's one thing that you would want them to know?
I guess I would say that the things that you think keep you alone in the world will connect you to more people than you ever imagined. Like, I think that's the big thing, man. Everything that, my darkest secrets that I just thought nobody would understand. Actually, in my darkest days, I thought if you found out, you'd lock me up. And actually, when I found a place that made me feel safe enough to talk about them, I just realized everybody's the same.
Yeah.
Everybody's the same. And so when you find a safe and supportive community where it feels like you can share, it can change your life. Something that simple, yeah.
That, I think it is. Like I said, I don't think it's simple. I think it's so powerful.
Yeah.
I think understanding that, what you're going through is something difficult, and you're not alone in that. There's a lot of other people that will be experiencing what you're experiencing, and if you can find those people, it will make you feel a lot better on your healing journey, for sure. Honestly, Josh, been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives on this. And I think, like we said at the start, it's a topic that doesn't really get spoken about enough. But the work that you're doing is absolutely brilliant. And the more that people understand these things and feel a bit more like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with me, that's the work that we need.
Yeah,
So
you
thank
too, man. And thank you for everything you're doing, man. Like, genuinely, like, keep at it, man. And let's keep in touch because I've enjoyed it, mate. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you so much. That's been Josh Connolly. Some brilliant perspectives, and I hope it helped. And I'll see you on the next episode of Too Young to Grieve.